Hello, boxing fans, and welcome back to Andy's Cavern. And you're very welcome. And tonight we've got a special treat for you. We're joined from Bob on Canada's Boxing Channel. How we doing, Bob?
Good. I'm wearing my hat so Mr. Trump doesn't think I'm part of the 51st state already.
Just to remind everybody where you come from.
That's right. Notwithstanding Mr. Trump saying that we're going to be part of the 51st state, he's tariffing us right now. How that's all going to work out, I don't know. But yes, we're still Canada as of today.
Good stuff. The UK is getting hit with tariffs as well, though I think it's only 10% from what I've heard. I saw people from like gin distilleries and whiskey distilleries being interviewed because it might have an impact on their exports to the US. So time will tell. I think I saw something else just before I came on. It said Trump says the only way to waiver the tariffs to take his chlorinated chicken. So well, that's nonsense or what? I've no idea. But
well, we've taken all the American liquor out of the liquor stores, so there's no more Kentucky bourbon to be purchased. But yeah, I don't know how it's all going to work out. I was watching something the other day that cars that are made in Windsor, Ontario, and in Detroit, the same parts will go back across the border like 8 times. So I don't know how you unscramble the egg there. Yeah, I don't know. It's and my mutual funds, I think they're called unit trusts in Britain. They've all nosedived because the markets have taken a beating.
yeah.
But yeah, anyways.
It's funny you mentioned Windsor there because my pal that's got American cars, my pal Frank. Well, I sent you some pictures earlier. I think it's a 1974 Ranger, and he's got an Econoline van. I think it's maybe a 1983 or 84. But there's some of them have a Windsor V8 engine in them. I can't remember if it's a 7 litre. One of them.
Yeah.
That green Ranger, I don't know if it's an F-150 or an F-100 or whatever it was. That's got like 500 horsepower. That engine. It's absolutely
very very nice. I wouldn't want to be putting gas in it in the UK though.
No, I think it's single figures, and it's got to be high octane.
Yeah,
so it's like, oh.
Yeah, I've got a 5 liter V8 in my F-150, and I get about 13 liters per 100 kilometers. So
Right.
I don't know what that is in miles per gallon. I've forgotten how to do the calculation, but
Probably not too bad. It's maybe just under 3 gallons, UK gallons, and so that's about 60 miles. So it's probably just over 20 miles to gallon or something. So that's not too bad for the
yeah.
considering.
All I know is that during the summer when I drive in to play golf, my summer expenditure is quite high. So, but yeah, Mr. Trump, I don't know what he wants. He wants something that we've got. But yeah,
He wants Greenland as well, does he not?
yeah. I don't even know if he knows what he wants. But hey, whatever. There's not much we can do here.
He's got a passion for snow.
Yeah. My snow's going at last, I'm pleased to say. But yeah. So how you been over in Scotland?
All right, it's actually beautiful weather here this past couple of days. It's been beautiful sunshine, clear skies, a wee bit cool at night, but nothing drastic. It's still not freezing. So I think it's been 18 degrees through the day. So
very nice.
Can't complain at that, really.
You guys use centigrade now?
Mostly, I think. Yeah, it used to always be Fahrenheit at one time, wasn't it?
When I was living in Britain, it was Fahrenheit. Yeah, we're at about 12 or 13 centigrade during the day, and about -3 or 4 overnight. So we're nicely into spring now. Still some snow out in the fields, but I'm getting the itch to get the golf clubs back in my hand to show the rest of the world how crappy I am at golf.
You're not any worse than I am. I'm terrible. But so there's big fights on this weekend. There's I noticed Hughie Fury's fight is just a 6-round fight against Dan Garber, who's ironically his dad knocked out Big John Fury back in the day. I think they fought.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm not seeing Dan Garber knocking out Hughie Fury, but you know, the question I have, and maybe I'm missing something here. I know Hughie Fury's been sick, but you know, I did a video the other day. He was calling out all the top names: Usyk, Dubois, AJ, Parker, Caballel. But then he's fighting this 39-year-old tomato can. Like, should he not be trying to go for like your Donovan, Solomon Dakers, your David Adelaide, your Jamie TKV, you know, that sort of British level, or even Big Johnny Fisher,
Yeah.
or the Lazy Rhino?
There is word
You know,
that
he seems.
there's word of Dave Allen fighting him at some point, but I think he's a victim of politics. He's had a lot of bad luck with health issues, but he's also a victim of politics because him and his dad are not going to roll over to like Bricktop and Eddie Hills.
Yeah,
It's
I,
a tricky.
I think. Yeah, I think that's the case. Peter Fury is you know, he's a proud man, and I have the feeling that from where I sit, you know, I'm not in the UK, but I have the sense that you know, it's like Hughie Fury is almost blackballed because of who his dad is. Is that
Yeah,
would that's right?
because I think his dad's been quite vocal against. Like he's a straight talker, his dad is. So, and I like
Yeah.
that. I like people that you're not going to get any BS out of him. So that's maybe been to his detriment to some extent. He tells it as it is, which the truth ain't always popular, is it? Especially with big promoters and whatnot. And Hughie is an awkward fighter, so he's not easy to match, and he's not easy. He can make people look bad just stylistically, you know, through his style. But he's very skillful. But unfortunately, he's had a lot of bad luck. I think he had long COVID and that for a couple of years, and a few other issues. And um, yeah, I think he had like an autoimmune disorder or something way back, something like that. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, anybody out there. I think I'm not.
I might be wrong on this, and I don't want to sort of be slandering anybody. But did he also have a problem with drugs?
Way back, he had I think both him and Tyson failed a test on.
Oh,
I
the
think it was something wild
wild
boar meat
boar
or something.
meat.
Yeah, wild boar meat. So I think that was a. I think Canelo had a wild boar meat thing as well. Did he not? It was that around a similar time? But I think Canelo
Yeah.
actually gave a. Somebody told me he gave a hair follicle. I think it was Julian that told me that he gave a hair follicle for like to be tested because you can test way back if there's been long term use of drugs. And I think Canelo went through that scenario. Whereas
Yeah.
I haven't heard anybody
I,
else clearing their name in that way. You know.
well, I think the thing now to give you the ability to withstand any kind of punches is the Brazilian beefsteak.
That's the latest
That's
thing.
the kind of stuff you need to be on. And you know, Dr. Usman guarantees you won't get sick again.
Oh
So
right.
yeah, so that's the stuff.
I
That and
buy
lots of
I
eggs.
I buy local Aberdeen Angus. That's well, it's
No,
Scottish.
that won't work.
No,
You need to go to Brazil, and it's got to
special.
be eaten in Brazil.
Right,
Um,
consumed locally.
yeah.
Buy
Anyhow,
local,
I'm.
but consume local.
Yeah.
Maybe Trump's wanting everybody to go to America to consume the chlorinated chicken.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Who
Yeah,
knows? But
so
yeah.
hopefully, I saw an interview with Dan Garber. He's actually spoke quite well. He seems quite a pleasant guy. He was talking about, I think he's fought Moses Atumo, but I think that must have ended early. He's taken a lot of fights at short notice, and I think he was at cruiserweight, but it was killing him making the weight, he said. So he's moved up to heavyweight. But he's also taking fighting for money. He's taking fights at short notice. But
Yeah.
he says this particular fight, he's had 5 weeks notice. So he's had a sort of
Huh.
cap. So he's the way he was talking, he sparred Hughie before, he says, and he said if I get a few, he says on his best night, best me and the best Hughie, he reckons Hughie would win. But if he's having an off night, he give himself a chance. So he was quite open and honest about
Right.
his chances, I think. So it'll be interesting to see. At least he's had a
Well,
training camp.
hopefully Hughie Fury will, get through Garber. And then, if I was him, I wouldn't sort of try and immediately get in with the likes of Caballel and Parker and whatnot. I would definitely be trying to look at that sort of, big Johnny Fisher or somebody like that.
Yeah,
and move my way up. But he's 30 years old at the moment, so time is on his side, but he doesn't have the luxury of, like he doesn't have 10 years ahead of him.
no.
So hopefully if he's going to make a play, he makes it soon. But I hear you about that style. It's a little bit sort of it's kind of like the dollar store version of Joe Bugner, really. He's a bit awkward and a bit defensive.
Yes.
So it's not very exciting to watch. But yeah, I mean, I wish him well. He comes across as a nice guy, but I feel if he comes unglued against this 39-year-old sparring partner, that probably has got to be the end of the road for him, I would think.
You would say so, yeah. I mean, his own dad said Hughie's got to put up or shut up now. He's at that point. He's got to put up or
Yeah.
shut up. That was Peter's own words. So he'll only get the truth from his dad as well. I don't think anybody's blown smoke up his backside by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, when you mentioned Joe Bugner there, he was a similar awkward defensive style, and a tall. What was Joe Bugner was 6'5", wasn't he? Hughie Fury 6'6", I think.
6'4", 6'5", 6'4", I
Yeah.
think, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But
A big guy at
Joe
that
Bugner.
time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, Joe Bugner, however, was a legitimate. I think he was rated as high as number 4 in the world at one time, and that was the era of Ali, Frazier, Foreman. So to get a number 4 rating in those days, you were actually very good.
It's a great achievement. I remember Michael Parkinson slagging Joe Bugner off and Muhammad Ali pulling him up in it. Why
Yes,
you still betting Joe Bugner? He says, he steal your girlfriend or something?
Yes, exactly. That was very funny.
He said, he's your whole man. He says, you get behind him. He says, Joe Bugner's a good fighter.
My favorite Joe Bugner moment is when he fought Richard Dunn, who was the British European and Commonwealth champion at the time. And Richard Dunn and his wife had called Joe Bugner a sugar plum fairy. And Joe Bugner came out and absolutely obliterated him in one round. It was like the maddest, the angriest Joe Bugner I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it was, and Richard Dunn had been an ex-para. And it was fun times. I remember it very clearly. I was still, living in the UK at the time and all that. So, talking about people at the end of their, maybe crossroads, what do you think of Joe Joyce and Filip Hrgovic?
Yeah, I'm interested in that fight. I actually gave Joe Joyce more a chance than most people, I think. And I noticed he was actually talking quite well, and a lot of folk are concerned about him and making comments about his the way he speaks. But for me, he was speaking okay at that press conference, and he always seems quite a jovial, easygoing kind of guy. But somebody put in the comment section of one of my videos one time that they thought he might have some kind of social anxiety issue, and that could be why he talks the way he does, and he's always talked like that. I remember at one time he was going for media lessons to
really?
talk jive sort of thing. I seem to remember that way back. I think it might have been prior to the Dubois fight, so it's going back quite a bit. I've always liked Joe Joyce, and there's somebody the other day I seen in comments mocking somebody for comparing him to George Foreman, but I myself have compared him to George Foreman stylistically, the second phase of George Foreman's career.
Right. Yeah.
He seems slow and cumbersome, but he's strangely effective. And I've always thought Joe Joyce has been very good at cutting the ring off, which George Foreman was exceptional at. So I'm not saying he's the second coming of George Foreman by any stretch of imagination, but just stylistically, you know
Yeah.
who Muhammad Ali called, I don't see no mama whooping me. He called him the mummy. Here comes the big mummy. And
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I think it was a
Well,
Parkinson show. He was talking about that, about the guy running through the woods about 100 miles an hour. And here comes the old mummy. Boom, boom, boom.
yeah. 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 I remember that.
He's running in the woods. And then the mummy gets him. He says, I don't see no mummy catching me. So Joe Joyce, for me, is a bit like the mummy, you know.
Yeah. Well, I've always liked Joe Joyce. I did a video a while back talking about his health issues. Like, I'm very worried about his health issues. I would worry about anybody who's close to 40, with what appears to be some speech and cognitive problems. But I did agree today, he seemed quite quick.
Yeah.
There was this one thing where Filip Hrgovic said, "You're 40." Joe Joyce said, "No, I'm 39." And then Filip Hrgovic said, "Oh, in that case, you're young." It was quite a good little bit of banter between those two.
Yeah.
I quite liked the banter between Hrgovic and Joyce, especially after that handbags at dawn
Oh.
nonsense between Adelaide and TKB. I mean, what a load of complete bullshit that was. It was like two old birds outside Tesco, fighting over something, right? Like, it
Fighting
was
over a
it was
chicken, a last
terrible.
chicken.
Like, I
I
mean,
was just waiting on one of them saying, "My dad's bigger than your dad." Something like that.
like, I mean, I was laughing, but I was also like kind of embarrassed because like the Lonsdale belt, like, put some respect on that belt. That's the belt
Oh
that
yeah.
Henry Cooper had. That, Joe Erskine, you know, um, Bodell, Bruno, Lewis, and Fabio Wardley is really recently sort of vacated. Like, respect the moment, but this TKV and Adelaide, they were both talking at the same time, and there was a lot
Yeah.
of, you're a bitch, I'm a bitch, everyone's a bitch, bitch, and it was like, what the hell's going on here? And then it was the throwing up at the table, and I'm thinking, where's Derek Chisora? We need Derek Chisora.
You need him to throw it properly, show him how to really throw a
Yeah,
table. It
and
was,
uh,
was a bit
and then
embarrassing.
Hrgovic said, "Are we still the main event?" Or.
It was quite
But
funny that. No, it was like you say. There's not enough respect put on the Lonsdale belt these days, and that's at all weights. There's too many guys wanting to bypass it. But to go the traditional route, whether it be area title, English title, or Scottish title, British title, get the Lonsdale belt, Commonwealth title, European title, and then world title. That's proper. That's a
but
proper
that's how it
apprenticeship, or whatever you might call
that's
it.
how it used to be. And to be the British heavyweight champion was a very, very, like, it was a laudable, legitimate, ambitious thing to go for, right?
Yeah,
And then if you could win it outright, that was even better. I mean, Henry Cooper had three of them out, which he won
yeah,
outright. I don't think that'll ever be done again. But
amazing. Yeah.
and you didn't see situations where, a British champion was going to relinquish the belt to go on some other route. The British champion was going to go for a world title, but he was still going to be British champion. But I guess times have changed. But
I think
I,
back in Henry Cooper's time, there was only the one world title, wasn't there? So there wasn't the like
yeah,
four or
yeah,
five or six or however many there is now. Or there's four main ones to say, isn't there? But so
yeah. And then there's all
you'd be
these.
lucky to get a shot at the world title in some respects back then. These days, you think you'll know better than me, Bob, all the guys who never won world titles who would be definitely be a world champion nowadays, like Ernie
Oh,
Shavers.
yeah. Shavers is the first guy I thought of, but
Ah,
Shavers, Ron Lyle. I
Ron
mean,
Lyle.
yeah, of course,
Jerry
these guys
Quarry.
were, yeah.
Jerry
Uh,
Quarry as well, eh? Jerry
Oh,
Quarry was a good
absolutely,
fighter.
Jerry Corey. Yeah. Jerry Corey, Jimmy Ellis, Jimmy Young, they would probably all be world champions these days.
Yeah. Did Jimmy
And
Ellis
then,
have
of
a
course,
WBA at one time?
he might have, I can't remember. Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
but yeah, it's, and then if you go back, to that prior generation, you'd have Cleveland Williams, Zora Foley, Eddie Macon. They would all be world champions today, without a shadow of a doubt. So we are in a diluted period, I think.
Because
But
Sonny Liston waited a long time for his title shot, didn't he? He was
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He literally cleared out the division, and eventually, Customato didn't want him to fight Patterson, and it was Patterson who eventually said, "Yeah, I'll fight him." And then, of course, we know the rest. But I struggle to see how what's his name, Jamie TKV. How can you be competing for the British title? You've got a record of, was it 8-0?
Is that what? I'm not actually sure. I haven't checked.
I think so. It's it's not a lot of fights under his belt, but
Yeah,
I would expect David Adelaide to win this fight on Saturday. But
yeah.
he's a betting favorite. I don't know a great deal about TKV, to be perfectly honest. Other than I can't pronounce his real last name, so thankfully everybody calls him TKV.
I saw. I did see a fight one recently. Can't think who it'll tell me on here on BoxRec. Tashikov, Tash, Tash, Tashikova or something like that, isn't it? Tashikova or something like that. It's oh, he's got one loss, a KO loss. He's got five. He's 8 wins, 1 defeat, five KOs, and 1 KO loss. Yeah, 1 knockout defeat.
Well, I'm going to keep
6'4" he is, age 31.
I'm going to keep calling him TKV because I get into shit from people on my channel because I always butcher people's last names. And it's like I can't pronounce anything that's not like a real Anglo name. So thankfully, this guy has done us all a favor. And, he's adopted TKV.
Abbreviated it for everybody's advantage. I don't know who I saw him fight. He's had a fight the 1st of February against Michael Webster. It wasn't as recent as that. I think it might have been the one before that. In October, he fought Franklin Ignatius, I think it was. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the other boy he fought before that.
No, I always mess it up. Like I think I can say it in my head, and then when it comes out of my mouth, it's like terrible. And sometimes I get comments about and I'm not meaning to be disrespectful. I'm just incompetent.
Have you ever seen a British comedy series called The Fast Show?
No, I've not seen that.
It's all like short clips. It was brilliant, and there was a sketch on that, and it was called The Unpronounceables, and it was like New York police. You'd like it, New York police guys, and they're going Kowalski, and then every time, and I went to the next guy, and none of them could pronounce any of the names. I'll dig it out and send it to you. It'll be on YouTube somewhere.
I remember seeing a show where there are two North American cops. They're trying to order something, and one of them's, I think the guy behind the counter is Scottish or something. It's like, huh? It's like even on Porky's Corner when I'm listening to you and Jerry talking. I know Jerry's from Northern Ireland, but but when you're both going at it, I'm like, huh?
Hey, keep rewinding.
I said to my wife, I said, I need subtitles on this guy.
Replay it.
I see Delicious Ori is also making his professional debut, huh?
Delicious Ori. I don't know if I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, he's making his professional debut at this heavy impact fight, extravaganza at the co-op on Saturday. So I will start watching that, including the preliminaries, because it's 8 o'clock in the morning with me on Saturday morning. So
right. Let me see.
Yeah, we'll have to connect on our WhatsApp group so we can all sort of throw our 2 cents in about these various fights.
Yeah, he's heavyweight as well. Delicious Ori.
Yeah, he was born in Moscow in Russia.
Ah, right.
Yeah, I did not know that until like very recently.
Uh, I'll have to look him up
Um,
and educate
uh,
myself on him.
the other fight that's I don't want us to skate over is Richard Torres Jr. and Guido Vianello. Vianella. Again, I'm
Uh-huh.
going to mess up his name, and people are going to complain, but they can complain on your channel. Um, but yeah, I actually quite like Guido, the gladiator,
Uh-huh.
and Richard Torres Jr., the guy who's got like the porn star mustache.
Oh yeah.
That's that should be a good fight. You know, he's the next big thing in American boxing.
All right. Yeah, America's needing a heavyweight contender of some description, isn't it? Jared Anderson
Well,
was going to be the next big thing, but
uh,
Joey smashed him apart, didn't he? So
J- Jared Anderson might be a busted flush. I mean,
that was a horrendous,
Bacoli.
that was a horrendous beating Bacoli gave him, didn't he? Some of the shots were whipping his head all over the place, weren't they? It was just,
Well, I mean, Anderson fought the wrong fight, clearly, but I'm not sure like what Anderson wants to do. Like, um, yeah, I don't know what his level of commitment is.
there was a lot of people wonder. I mean, I won money on that fight because I
So
thought
did I.
why are they taking on Bacoli? I thought that's not a good idea. It was like the people in
Yeah,
America hadn't really heard of Bacoli and they thought, "We'll take him on."
I know.
Michael
Yeah,
Hunter's beat him, so
I got decent odds on that.
yeah.
I think I doubled my normal pensioners bet. I think I put $10 on, which is, it's a big push the boat out for me. But
I
yeah, I
couldn't actually
definitely,
believe the odds on that fight. I'll tell you another one
yeah.
was way back when Joe Joyce fought Dubois. You got, I think it was either 50 to 1 or 100 to 1 odds. On I won money. I picked the right, luckily picked the right round. I think I picked 3 rounds, like late rounds, and I won. It was like I think I won £200. And it was like I think I put £2 on. It was 100 to 1. Oh, I just couldn't believe the odds. I put £2 on. I think won £202 back. I'm like, I couldn't believe it.
And I suspect you told your wife you won £20, right?
No, I actually took the family out for a meal. But
Oh, okay. What with you being Scottish and all, I thought maybe
ah,
you've still got, 200 of that 202.
a fork in the sugar bowl and short arms and deep pockets. Usually in
Yeah.
Scotland, Aberdeen people are referred to as being tight. They say copper wire was invented by two of them fighting over a penny, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure we've all had mates over the years, you go to the bar
Oh,
and they're all sort of like they've all turned into T-Rex, they
yeah.
can't reach into their yeah.
There was a recent day. I don't go
So
out very often, but there was a recent day out when there was an example of that on show. This guy, I think he'd taken about 5 drinks off everybody and then suddenly disappeared.
yeah.
I'm going
Yeah,
down.
you buy in rounds, and when it's his turn, he's
Uh,
in the bathroom, and you see the soles of his shoes getting out of the bathroom window. Yeah, no,
Suddenly remembers his wallets and his other trousers at home. That's it.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh wee little arms like this.
uh,
Yeah, no, we've
my
all met
pal,
guys like that.
my pal Big Andy, that I work with, he's a good guy. He told me a story about a guy that used to work with us where I work, and he seemed in a big rush to get to the pub, and everybody was walking from one pub to another, and this guy's in a big rush, and as the closer they got, then he must have realised if I'm in first, I'm going to have to buy the round. So suddenly his shoelaces need to be retied,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everybody passed him and get.
I've seen all those tricks. I may have even pulled a couple myself. It's hard to say. I don't remember.
I don't believe
I
you're
don't.
tight, Bob. I don't believe that.
I'm gonna plead the Fifth Amendment on this, just in case. But no, there's lots of those old tricks, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that Torres is being hailed as the next big thing in American boxing. He's a hot prospect, but looking at the competition he's faced compared to Guido Vianella,
Sounds like a
Guido
nice
has
name,
definitely
doesn't it?
faced. Hmm?
That sounds like an ice cream. A Viennetter's ice cream we get here.
It does, yeah. It's like that TKB sounds like a shish kebab to me. When you were saying it, I'm like, what? You know, I think I'm traumatized about kebabs now after seeing Jamie eating a kebab on our four-way gossip bullshit session. There was this big slab of fat going down his face and onto his chest. And I actually stopped recording, and then I started re-recording so that people didn't get to see that, because it
I
was
remember
like
that.
he'd been slapped in the face with a wet kipper or something. It was all down his face and just.
I don't understand why he ordered a kebab when he knew he was going on a Zoom, but you want to eat it before it got cold. Eh?
Well, why not wait and eat it afterwards? Put it in the microwave, right? Like, I don't know.
He's a good guy,
But
Jamie.
yeah,
That was good crack, the four-way thing, wasn't it? With
that was
Jerry and
fun.
Jamie.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that, and we should definitely do that again. I
Oh yeah,
mean, I think people watched it, and there were
yeah.
some positive comments. But yeah, no, that was quite a bit of fun. But poor Jamie, eh?
He's going to
we, we,
he's going to be
we
reminded
will.
of that every time, isn't he?
Well, we're going to have to send the link to him. I mean, just in case he doesn't. Well, I know he's a subscriber to your channel, but you should
He better be.
absolutely send the link to him, and uh, and put the minute, whatever minute is that we're talking about this.
Yeah, must be about the half
But
hour mark. Yeah.
for
Uh,
those who missed the four-way, I strongly recommend you go and look at the four-way. Part one was on my channel, Canada's boxing channel, and it was an absolute gong show. Part two was on Andy's channel, Andy's Cavern, and it was a little bit more civilized, because by then Jamie had finished the
finished.
kebab that he was munching his way through. So
Finished. I think I was having the occasional cheese and onion Pringle, but I was doing it discreetly, I think.
yeah, I mean, eating a chip is 1 minute is one thing, but like
I'm
so.
sitting here with a bowl of spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah, wearing half of it and eating half of it. Yeah.
I think I did a video of a Burns night a while back, and I had haggis, neeps, and tatties, but I had the manners to pause the video while I ate it, and it came back. I don't think
Yeah,
watching people eat is spectators.
I've had people leave comments, because quite often I'll have a cup of tea or coffee or something, or like this, a can of soda. And if I'm recording a particularly a long one, you're just speaking to the camera, right? You're not
Yeah,
interacting, and
you can have the occasional drink.
do that, and then you get people put in the comments saying, that's rude.
I
Sorry.
remember one time, G-Man's channel. He had
Yeah, yeah.
he had this big orange stain on his
I
face,
know,
and there was
I
people
know.
commenting about him.
I had to listen to it like a podcast. I couldn't look at it. It was,
He had a big plate of beans on toast or something just prior to that.
yeah.
Spaghetti and sausages or something.
Ah.
How do you think Martin McCauley's going to come back? He's fighting
Oh,
in the May.
yeah. Well, he's fighting F.A. Ajagba, right? Firstly, he needs to be in the 270s,
Yeah.
not 315, which raises another question about, like, you got professional heavyweight boxer, you've got maybe a 12-year career span. Why the F are you ballooning in between fights? Like, that cannot be healthy. And that's a relatively new thing. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't see Lennox Lewis at his prime gain 40 pounds when he was not in fight camp. He kept himself, like, pretty much where he's supposed to be. But now, like, Bacoli, I think he was 287 maybe against Jared Anderson. And then
Yeah.
he's like 315 when he's on vacation in the Congo. I mean,
Yes.
that's a lot of extra weight. So when you go into camp, you've got to go into a fat camp where you should be
Yeah.
going into camp in pretty much fight weight, so you can be working on sparring and you can be working on other aspects of your business, of your profession. it's really weird. Like I doubt very much that Alexander Usyk gets wickedly out of shape. In fact,
No.
when Usyk was there watching Parker and Bacoli, Usyk looked like he could take his jacket off, borrow a pair of gloves, and get in the ring and probably be at fight weight.
Yeah, yeah. And
But
it's discipline for conditioning. I mean, you remember the Klitschko's, they were always in shape. They were never, you
yeah,
never
absolutely. And full credit to Anthony Joshua. Joshua's always in top shape. He looks
yeah,
like he's well, he probably is a fitness freak, right?
yeah.
Um, whereas Fury was on his knees outside the pub,
I know, I
puking
know.
or.
Disappointing,
I
isn't
mean,
it? It's no example to set, but some people will see that and think, well, if he can do that, I'll be all right for me to do that. And
yeah,
David Hay was always in good shape as well, wasn't he? He was always,
yeah. David Hay was in good shape.
always ripped.
But yeah, I mean, I think if that's your profession, that's your career. Like, you know, I mean, some guys are very popular because they're like every man down the pub, like Ricky Hatton.
Yeah, he's
People
probably
like
one
Ricky Hatton because
he's probably one to blame in some respects because he was putting on like 4 stone in between. I mean, it was ridiculous. There was no
yeah,
discipline from him, was there? So and that probably shortened his career in the same way as Fury's career has been shortened. I think I spoke with
yeah,
us many times.
undoubtedly.
Yeah,
Whereas you had other guys like Joe Calzaghe and Froch, they kept in shape and they, so, well, to each their own. I guess it depends on how much money you make. And, at some point you think you've made enough money and it would be very hard then. Like Marvin Hagler said, it's hard to get out of bed and do the road work when you're sleeping in silk pajamas, right?
pajamas. That's right. That's a famous phrase, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was, but there needs to be better. These guys, you look at Beterbiev, and his discipline's exceptional. I mean, I think he's about 41 now,
Oh,
isn't he, Beterbiev?
oh yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
ever watch it, I recommend
I
anybody watch his training videos. They're unbelievable.
freaky,
Oh,
freaky. Yeah, I doubt very much that Artur Beterbiev is going to be outside some pub in Montreal, uh, you know,
eating a
hammered
kebab.
out of his hammered out of his head. Eating what? Poutine, my friend in Canada, poutine.
Poutine.
You know, yeah, you eat poutine. They also you can eat kebabs, but they're
Yeah,
not the same as British kebabs. I've got
right.
a lot of kebabs in Canada, and they're not the same as a British kebab.
I'm not really a fan
But
of kebabs. It's not something I've ever eaten a lot of, but I went with my pal one night, like a few years back now, and he asked the guy in the place for a chicken kebab, and it was really fresh and it was really nice. Yeah.
I
But
think the trick with a kebab is you've got to have 18 pints of lager first.
that's completely
Hey,
sozzled.
how's our time looking?
We've
How are we
got
doing for time here?
just under 2 minutes left. Is there anything else
Okay.
you want
No,
to
I should shut
address?
my mouth and let you do your outro here.
That's all right. I've hope everybody's enjoyed our chat tonight, and I'll probably guest on Bob's channel at some point in the next week or two.
Absolutely. You're very
Uh,
welcome.
and we're
And
looking.
uh, and Jamie, do not sue us. We did not mean to defame you. It was a kebab that was well eaten.
I hope he enjoyed it. He did. He appeared to be enjoying it, so that's the main thing, isn't it? Food must be enjoyed.
Enjoying it, wearing it.
He's almost like a Lady Gaga tribute act wearing food now. But I'm not eating at night at the moment. I'm trying to lose a wee bit of weight, so I'm trying to be disciplined. So because it's too easy to come
Yeah.
out here and there's a packet of crisps or some sweeties and it's a bad habit to get or even have a drink or two. But I know that I drink a lot, but occasionally I have one or two. So
Yeah. I have to lose a few pounds as well. Yeah, it's been pointed out to me by my domestic team leader that I am no longer the svelte panther that she'd married. I'm more cuddly than I used to be. So I've been told that I've got to lay off the bread and the desserts and whatnot.
I think we're about out of time, Bob. So like and subscribe to Canada's Boxing Channel and Andy's Cavern Boxing. And it's good night from Bob and it's good night from me. Good night.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me on,
Yeah.
Andy.
All the best, Bob. Take care.
Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Bye bye.